Hello everyone and welcome back. As you can tell, I've got my book. So without further ado, shall we begin? Now, actually before we begin, you may remember we're about to start the chapter within the chapter. So, shall we? The school-age child. When the 5-year-old mainly strides up the walk on that celebrated first day of kindergarten, he takes along with him about 25,000 hours of dual tape recordings. One set is his parent, the other his child. He also has a magnificent computer that can click off responses and produce brilliant ideas by the thousands. That is, if it is not totally involved in working out the problems of the not okay. The bright little boy is the one who has had lots of stroking, who has learned to use and trust his adult, and who knows his parent is okay, and they will remain that way even when he feels not okay. He would have learned the adult art of compromise, although relapses are to be expected, of course. He will have had the confidence that grows from successful mastery of problems, and he will feel good about himself. At the other extreme is the shy, withdrawn little boy whose 25,000 hours of tape recordings playing in a cacophony of shrill supervision and criticism to the low, steady rhythm of not okay, not okay, not okay. He also has a magnificent computer, but it has not had much use. Luigi Bonpensieri, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, of course, in a remarkable little book about piano playing, commented on how poorly we use the superb physical apparatus of the human body. It is like having the most perfect apparatus of precision, planned and built for a highly efficient operator to use, then relinquishing it to a poorly trained engineer, who in the end will complain of its limitations. If the child cannot use his computer, most probably it is because he has either never seen one used, or he has had no one to help him learn how to use his. If he does poorly in school, his complaint of his limitations will be expressed as, "I'm stupid," and his parents' statement will be, "He's just not working up to his potential." The basic problem is the severity of the "I'm not okay, you're okay" position. School, unless it has truly competent teachers, is the place where scholastically the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. You know, it's not wrong, is he? He really isn't. And I mean that in more than one way. In a child, whilst he has a school problem, disruptive behaviour, daydreaming or poor achievement, one can expect to find the "I'm not okay, you're okay" a matter of continual preoccupation. School is a competitive situation with too many affirming threats to the child and too few opportunities at the start for even token achievements to minimise the not okay. The early school years can be the beginning of a pattern of recurring testing transactions which, as he feels it, underline the reality of his not okay position, with associated feelings of futility and despair. The really urgent aspect of this situation is that all of life is competitive, beginning with life in the family and extending through all of school and into the grown-up world of life in society. Throughout life, the feelings and the related techniques for coping with the not okay position, which the youngster establishes in the family setting and in school, can persist into the grown-up years and deny him the achievements and satisfactions based in a true sense of freedom to direct his own destiny. Are you with me so far, people? Because if you're not, you can go back. Now, where was I?
2 hours later.
My advice to parents of a youngster who is having difficulty in school is to learn parent, adult, child. To take it seriously and to begin to handle their transactions with their youngster, adult to adult, with therapeutic assistance if necessary. They must always keep in mind the primary influence of the not okay. Excuse me while I turn the page. That's better. The rule is, when in doubt, stroke. This will keep the foreign anxious child comforted while the adult gets on with the realities of the situation. Very often, however, these realities are not made clear to the child. Dr. Orm Prentice, Professor of Education at Sacramento State College and a member of the board of the Institute for Transactional Analysis, suggests that a child who brings home a paper marked "try a little harder" interprets this as a parental undifferentiated "you're not okay." What he needs to know is try what harder. The statement too slow implies the question, how fast would be about right? Prentice says the child needs to be helped to identify areas in which he is or can be successful. And this is not done by written tests, since this medium itself evokes the old tape, I can't do it, so why try? It is done by listening to and talking with the child. He says if a child is having trouble in school, it is pointless to assume that more of the same in summer school or on weekends is going to help him, unless a specific problem is isolated and met. The parent will say, do more. The adult asks, do what more? This is reminiscent of an editorial that appeared in the Kansas City Star, referring to a certain public official who had declared that there were too many minors in the beer taverns. Stated the editorial, he says there are too many minors in the beer taverns, but as usual he fails to point out how many minors would be about right. Now, I'm not an expert by all means, but taverns in those days weren't exactly wholesome family places, if you know what I mean. So really, the amount of minors, the correct amount of minors in a place like that should really be 0. I mean, if it's like a family place, it's different, but most taverns, even especially back in those days, as far as I know, weren't necessarily family friendly. It was places where men went to after work to get away from family. Well, they were here anyway. I could be wrong, of course, but really, the right amount of minors in a tavern should really be 0. Unless it's like a really wholesome family type of establishment, then I suppose there is no right or wrong answer to that question, depending on the circumstances, of course. But I digress. Let's get back to the book, shall we? Following an address on transactional analysis to a group of educators, I was told, we've got to get this into the schools. I certainly agree. Many parents agree too. The question, should transactional analysis be taught in the schools, was asked of 66 parents who had just completed an 8-week transactional analysis lecture series. In response, 94% of the parents said yes for high school, and 85% said yes for junior high school and elementary school. Education is held as the greatest medication for the ills of the world. Those ills, however, are deeply embedded in behaviour. Therefore, education about behaviour through an easy-to-understand system like parent-adult-child could well be the most important thing we can do to solve the problems which beset us and threaten to destroy us. The task involved is almost beyond comprehension, yet in some way and at some point, we have to make some kind of break in the relentless march of the generations towards insanity or other forms of self-destruction which originate in childhood. Are you with me so far, people? Pre-adolescence in treatment. Pre-adolescence is viewed by some parents as the time of the last-ditch stand before the hormones and hairdos of adolescence appear, complicated what may already be a difficult relationship between youngsters and their parents. This is a time when youngsters are receiving maximum exposure to new ideas of the world about them, in school and in social contexts. It is a time when youngsters implement their early gains by new incentive moves, which drive some parents to distraction and others to the doctor. You must keep in mind that the child needs the security provided by the relatedness, consistency, stroking, recognition, approval, and support. Some children have found that the successful way to achieve this security is to conform and cooperate and, if their parents allow it, create. Others who have not learned to get stroking this way will continue to use the early manipulative techniques of the 3-year-old, such as acting out, testing, rivalry, evasion, stealing, and seduction. These techniques can be disorganizing to the family, particularly when the pre-adolescent applies his sharp mind to their perfection. In 1964, I started a group for pre-adolescents, 9 to 12 years old. The group met once a week. The group for their parents met every 2 weeks in the evening. These groups continued throughout the school year, and at the end of the year, each child with his parents was invited to come in for a survey of results. The changes were striking. Even the physical appearance of most youngsters had changed. Many children were there not okay in their facial expression and posture, and there were noticeable improvements in both. All families reported an improvement in communication. The youngster felt he could talk about his feelings and explain his point of view without provoking a parental storm or a sulky impasse. parents discovered they were able to make realistic demands and impose realistic limits without provoking a siege of acting out behaviour. The pre-adolescents and their parents were urged to use the contract concept, which is a statement of mutual expectations discussed and restated from time to time at the adult level. Where the contract was clear, where it contained the do's and don'ts as well as the consequences of the broken contract, the relationship between parent and child improved markedly. The contract is one of the best instruments I know for assuring consistency in direction and discipline, yet, because it is drawn by the adult, it can be re-examined from time to time by the adult with further benefit of keeping it up to date and flexible enough to meet in changing realities. Many parents treat their pre-adolescents in the same way they treated them when they were 4 years old. Often it is because they wish to maintain strict parental control, but more often it is simply because they do not appreciate how much the child changes from year to year, increases his ability to use as an adult. It is after all with the adult that the youngster learns realistic inner control. The appreciation that he does have an adult is still just a stupid little kid. Immediately takes a great deal of the friction out of family transactions. My pre-adolescent patients learned PAC quite easily and found it exciting and useful. Backed up by the approval of interested and concerned parents, their understanding of transactional analysis developed rapidly. As the internal and external parent-child dialogue became less critical, there is a freeing up of the adult to go to work on the important business of finding out about life. This is the time when boys and girls daydream about what they want to be, when they begin to develop intense idealism and feel a new closeness in relationship with their friends. It is the time when they begin to ask difficult questions about right and wrong. It is the time of Tom Sawyers and Huckleberry Finns who promise in blood and who want more and more of life. This is a time when the youngster is particularly sensitive to the kind of life his parents lead. It becomes apparent during the pre-adolescent years that it is not enough to be a good parent, as if that is the only function of being grown up, but of being a good person with vast and creative interests in all of life. Not merely introverted worry and concern about my child, my family, and whether or not I am a good parent. Alan Watts, former Anglican priest and an expert on Eastern philosophy, speaks of the self-defeating attitude of the parent who sits home, worrying about whether you're doing the best thing for your child and living as if the only thing you have to give is a well-brought-up child. He says, trouble is that in so many families the father and mother have been made to feel guilty over whether they are bringing up their children properly. They think the only reason for doing their respective jobs well is to produce a good result in the child. It's like trying to be happy just to be happy, but happiness is a byproduct. Now this is true. I know I often speak on my channel about how attitude goes a long way, and it can do. But at the end of the day, if you're not happy, you're not happy. You can try to improve your mood, and this is why I often use the word try, because you can't force it. You can fake it, but deep inside, you will know that you are not happy. And no matter how great a grand smile you put on, you won't be happy. Just as it is a good child, if the only thing the youngster has to look forward to when he becomes a grown-up is being a parent, who will have to take care of a brat like himself, why bother? Here is where the parents might better ask, what kind of a person am I around my child? Rather than what kind of a parent am I? I want him to be happy. Is there cheer in our home? I want him to be creative. Do I get excited about new things? I want him to learn something. How many books have I read in the past month, year, or years? When was the last time you read a book, dear viewer? Let me know in the comments. Audiobooks do count, by the way, because audiobooks are valid, just as much as regular books. Comics are valid too, by the way. Just in case you are a comic book reader, they're valid too. It's still a book in a sense, it's just a different kind of book. But still, let me know in the comments if you have read a book recently. Or let me know when the last time you did if you haven't done it in a while. There's no judgment here. I want him to have friends. How friendly am I? I want him to have ideals. Do I have any? Are they important enough to show him what I do? Have I ever told him what I believe? I want him to be generous. Am I compassionate about the needs of anyone outside my own family? People attract not that which they want, but that which they are. People also raise not the children they want, but the children who reproduce what they, the parents, are. It is in the outgoingness of the parents that the youngsters can begin to see where that leads away from their own preoccupation with not okay. It is out there in the world and with people, where the action is, and where with the stronger and stronger adult in charge, experiences can take place which begin to produce the okay feelings to counteract the early feelings of not okay and despair. Well, people, that's it for today. Hope you've learned something. I have, and as you can see, we're slowly getting there with the book. We will get there in the end, people, and it will be worth it. But until next time, please remember I love each and every single one of you, okay? I'm happy that you're all here with me on this journey. But other than that, take care of yourselves, okay? Bye.